What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast. Now I'm Alex. In this video, I'm going to be previewing Code Vein. Now, Code Vein releases on the PS4, Xbox One, and on PC on September 27th. So this is a game that I personally believe is picking up a lot of steam on the internet. The playable demo was released a few weeks ago in terms of even when I'm recording this. A lot of people quite recently have gotten their hands on this game, and this is a very, very highly anticipated game that I feel like is really going to be a surprise hit. Now, you could look at it and say, well, it doesn't really seem like it's going to be that much of a surprise, but when you look at September and then once you get into the dark days of October, November, when there's just so many games that you can't actually see the light, I mean that in a good way. You won't be going outside because you'll be playing so many video games. I feel like a game like Code Vein is definitely a game that gets kind of underlooked, but again, I feel like ever so recently it's starting to pick up some steam as we get closer and closer to the release, and I feel like because of what it is and because of the kind of spiritual idea or ideas they're taking from the Dark Souls, Demon Souls, all that kind of stuff, really from software, okay? Because it looks like it's got a lot, and I do mean a lot of similarities with those games, and they're not even being shy about it, especially because it's Bandai Namco that's developing it and producing it or publishing it. They're also the publishers of all of the Souls games. So it makes sense, and it's fair to see that they would be like, okay, well, let's see if we can take a lot of the things that really worked with those games and do it our own way. And honestly, it always seems like From Software has the same approach, even though they're the ones who created it. It's like, okay, well, we did Demon Souls, now let's do slightly different, and let's make it Dark Souls. And then, oh, let's do Bloodborne. Let's take some ideas from Dark Souls, but let's make it more like Gothic and a little bit easier, I guess you can maybe say, even though Bloodborne's a hard game. Let's make it more like action-y, a little bit faster. Then let's make Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and let's make that game wildly different, but people will still recognize it because of the development. So, like, they do it as well. And Code Vein, honestly, though, to me, I'm a big fan. I've talked about it before on the channel. I really do like the Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, all those games, Sekiro. I like them all. Okay, I'm not good at them. They're games that are so difficult that I actually am a fan of difficult games. I'm a big fan. I've platinumed a lot of very difficult games, but just the kind of difficulty that these games are, they just don't get me. I'll play them. I've owned a couple of these games, and I just can't do it. So I respect them, but at the same time, it's just like, I just can't. And Code Vein, to me, honestly, has the kind of the best of like all worlds. Now, Sekiro, to me, was the game that kind of really was like, okay, I really do. I feel very interested in this game, right? I'm waiting for like price drops for it to actually get it myself. But leading into that game, I was like, okay, this is a game I can honestly see myself enjoying, and I still feel that way now. With this, it's like, okay, it's got the similar style of gameplay. It does do a lot of things very differently, right? I've seen a lot of people actually talk about the character customization is super good in this game. So it does things that we kind of all know and love from the Souls games, and does it what looks to be very well from all the gameplay I've seen. And then at the same time, the biggest catch to me, and this is where I was leading, the biggest catch is the art style. I love the art style that Code Vein has, and I'm a big sucker for that kind of art style in any game. If you put this art style literally in any kind of game, now normally it's more of the Japanese-centric or JRPGs, these kind of games. Normally, that's really the only kind of games that have it, but if you put this art style on any game ever, I'm going to have like a 75% higher interest in your game. That's just generally how my mind works. I really love the art style. I love the cell shading. I love it. And I've talked about it before. It's not necessarily Ni no Kuni. It's not like that kind of cell shading. It's not the Studio Ghibli inspired. But it's close, and it's definitely not what Demon Souls, Dark Souls, it's not like that photorealistic approach. And I respect that, and I think, at the same time, if you're going to make a game that, yeah, there are aspects that are different, okay? And there's a lot of aspects that are different. Obviously, it's going to tell a different story. It's being set in a different world, all that stuff. But at the same time, if the core function and what you're doing in the game really does resemble, Dark Souls a lot, and I understand, like, literally the attacks and the weaponry, they're all different as well. But if generally it's like those games, and it even looks the same, if you use the kind of same, say they hire the same kind of art, the art style is similar, you really do have kind of the same game, and then it's like, well, it's not made from software, or From Software didn't develop it, so it's like, okay, what exactly is going on? So I think having the art style be like this is kind of taking that one up, because it's like, okay, they're doing things similar, there's definitely similarities, there's a lot of differences, and the biggest thing is it just looks wildly different. And I can respect that, and I honestly love that. I feel like I could talk about how this game looks more than I can talk about anything else in this game, because honestly, that is truly what gets me. And one of the other things I like to do in these game previews is talk about how the game will do. Seeing it's not a From Software game, because it's not. I don't know how much that's going to affect it, because again, From Software has that thing where they could announce a game, even like that Elden Ring, they can announce whatever they want and say from the makers of Dark Souls, and they don't even have to say it. The media will say it for them, that this game came from the developers of whatever. And they now have a long, long line of these different games, and slightly tweaked, slightly done differently, but they can keep saying, like, made from the makers of Sekiro, made from the makers of Bloodborne. Like, they can keep doing that. The problem with Code Vein is it's coming out late September. Now, there's honestly not that much. It's coming out 2 weeks after Gears 5, Borderlands 3. Comes out a couple of weeks before, Call of Duty, Medieval, The Outer Worlds. And then November is just, an onslaught of games. And honestly, it's kind of coming out at a pretty decent time. And again, a thing you can do is, while it's not the developers, it is the publishers, and you can really sell this game. And again, I don't think they need to. I think the media and people that are going to play this on YouTube and on Twitch and, Mixer, all the things that you're going to see this game on, a lot of things that are going to be said are, this game has a lot of resemblance to the Dark Souls. These bosses are insane. Look at how hard this level is, whatever. It's going to have that. And then they're also going to say, but also look at all the things it does different. Maybe some things it does better, maybe some things it does worse. And I'm sure both will happen. To me, honestly, the art style is better. I prefer this art style over the Dark Souls art style. But at the same time, maybe when you get into the game, maybe it's hard to do the kind of games that From Software does. It's hard. The pacing, just how difficult, and mastering that kind of difficulty curve and spikes and stuff like that in games, it's hard. There's a reason why there's not that many studios that can do it. There's reasons that studios try to do it, like From Software, and don't succeed. Now, these guys are probably about as close as we can get from Software, so I think this game will overall be fine. I know there's a lot of hype. I know there's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of excitement for this game. I'm excited to see it. I think this game, like I said, is going to be kind of an underlooked game, but it's going to perform very, very well. I think you're going to see some very high review scores. I think this game is going to sell very, very well. And who knows, we could get Code Vein 2. Like, this could be a spin-off kind of game. Not necessarily a spin-off, because it is its own IP, its own property. But I do see this game as a thing that could definitely get some sequels. And, do you make franchises without the hope, at least, that you could get a sequel? I don't necessarily think you do, but I do think this is definitely a game that could be like a surprise success when not a lot of people are looking at it. And then, in a couple years' time, PS5, Xbox Scarlet era, we get the next Code Vein game, and it starts to build a following. This is how it gets done. I mean, they really just need a Bloodborne 2 From Software, and Bloodborne would be just as big, I think, as the Dark Souls franchise. I truly do believe that. But they have the possibility that you just add one or two, you add like one more game, 2 games in any franchise that is made in this kind of vein. No, no pun intended. And I do think you have a very, very highly established franchise that gets a lot of people excited, and this is the first step to that. So guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think about Code Vein? Are you excited for it? Is this a game that's kind of under your radar, or what are you expecting from this game when this game comes out? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit that bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up, and thank you as always for watching. I hope to see you all on the next one.